And hello and good evening. Dave in the AM, aka the Cornbread Man, MAGA Report. Hope you are doing well. I have been under the weather since yesterday afternoon. I am digging my way out of that. Takes a little bit of time sometimes. It was not a virus. It was, I think, just imbalance in my sugar, and the medicine was kicking me, and it's hard on my system sometimes, and it just wiped me out. So I did listen to the show this morning, engineer a little bit, but I've just been not done much. But I did get started on some things this afternoon, late afternoon, and I have good news to report. The internet radio station, Cornbread Nation Radio, is got about 6.5 hours of programming loaded up with songs and programming, and we will go live soon, maybe tonight. I'm just trying to get enough up there. There's still a lot that I've got to do with it. The background looks great. The link works. I've tested everything. It's just simply hitting one button, go live. So those that are in here all the time, some of the programs you have heard. But we'll be loading some stuff in maybe you haven't heard. So we're going to get into news here really quick. And I've been really trying to find, there's some nights we do sports and racing, or racing, it depends. I'll have to adjust, but this is going to be the new time slot unless something's going on for the MAGA report. We end up pushing late, and I tried to do it late, and it was just really too late. So I decided to go early, and we'll just catch those early before they get into some of their shows. But I've been listening to the news all over. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on, guys, Broski, and we'll talk about that. Um, there's some news out of Russia. I want to sort of go back to the Russia-Ukraine war. And I titled this 10 to 12 days to war. And we're not saying that. This warmonger, I think him and Lindsey Graham, who has an opponent, by the way, we need to really promote that guy. He's a warmonger, just like Lindsey Graham is former President Medvedev, or Medvedev, or however you say his name. He is he's not the president anymore, but he has been, and he's of course the president come out and said, "I've heard enough, and we're going to shorten the time frame of down to 10 to 12 days for some sort of talk and ceasefire on Russia Ukraine." So this guy is always the guy that comes out and talks smack when yeah, broski. This is always a guy that comes out and talks smack about the USA and Trump, and they let him get away with it. Putin has been a little quiet, but there's some and what does 10 to 12 days mean? Now that's probably, and listening to people around the world, news around the world, even from that Russian side, if you can filter through all the propaganda and others, this guy's, we're not going to World War III, but there's all kinds of triggers that happen. The president has to be clear here on what he's going to do because it can escalate. So what's going to happen? He means really advancing the sanctions really heavily. But this is a dicey move. So once you've said that, you sort of put yourself in a box. So either he feels really strong that he can make this push right now, or he's going to take the chance and anger the Chinese and others about what these massive sanctions would mean for them while we're trying to negotiate a deal with China over the tariffs. This is the main deal, and so they don't like it. They're going to talk tough. The Russians are saying that they've taken a village here and a village there, but still the Russians have been not able to advance quickly. And this is 1,352 days of war. 1,352 days of war. It's supposed to be like a 10-day, like the USS Minnow, Gilligan's Island, 10 days of war footing. They said they will not go to a negotiation until they have completed their objectives, which is to take more land. Well, they just keep taking more and more and more. So that's bogus. I really thought myself they would stop once they had the Donbass and the region all the way from the Russian landholdings, that they could then have a land bridge, all the way into that region, and not just the Crimea bridges which are susceptible to bombings and terrorism and SEAL action or whatever. But they've continued to push. In fact, they're pushing that, and their main focus has been east of the Dnieper River, and they've been pushing more in the Sumy region, although there are a couple of other regions that they've been really pushing hard. And it's a long front, and so there's fighting all along the front, but there's two areas that they've really pushed hard, the Sumy region, and of course trying to get them out of Russian land, which has been happening more and more, that the Ukrainians have had to back out. Now, there's news out of Europe tonight. News out of Europe. I was listening to a news organization really connected in the region, and sources are saying, and they're trying to verify this, sources are saying the Russians are really depleted right now on their air assault weapons, and which would not be surprising because now that it does not mean they're out, it just means they're depleted. And so they were getting a lot of this stuff from Iran. Well, we know Iran was hit hard and has suffered a lot of losses. Of course, some of those bombs that fell have been hitting some of those drone factories and other factories. And so the Russians are back to a pre-2022 level. They had escalated up, knowing, as they got into this war front. And so that, they had really amped up those numbers. Well, they're down. All the gains are down. Doesn't mean they're out. It means they can't continue to slog it out the level they have. Remember, they've been breaking records with the air assault, with drones and other actions, missiles into Ukraine, and as well as many of their plane delivery systems, jamming systems, and other have been hit. They're sending hundreds at a time, 300 and 400 a day, some days, into Ukraine. And many of those get knocked out. They've been able to, now they can't do anything about the ones on the front lines that are connected, but the jamming frequencies will work. Anti-missile batteries, other things that have happened, they've been able to knock out a lot. But you will hear about supermarkets getting hit, apartment complexes. And yes, they hit a nursing home, and the president talked about that and has said, it's yeah, NC native. So this bozo coming out, he's always talking smack. He's the one. He's former Russian president, and Dmitry. By the way, he's another crazy leader that was educated in America. Could we just stop educating the nutcases for around the world? Bashar Assad, formerly of leader of Syria, American educated. There's a bunch of these. They come over here and they go to school, then they go back and become dictator number one, and they start, ripping into America and causing us problems around the world. So the talk will be now 10 to 12 days. The president in Scotland playing some golf. By the way, they gave the president a hard time. Said he cheated on the golf course. Seriously. He cheated on the golf course. Well, number one, it wasn't a professional round. And he owns the golf course. Does it really matter if he cheated every hole? I don't care. He's playing his course. It's Scotland. I wouldn't even say nothing if I was playing with him. He's the president. It's his course. I would just be happy that I'm getting to play on that course. I'm not much of a golfer, but I would play a few rounds on Scottish golf courses. That has been a dream of mine. I just love to do that. So, they're just looking for any way to gig him. Now, Senator Jeanine Shaheen, what a name, Jeanine Shaheen. I know her family thought that rhymed. Democrat in New Hampshire said about this news that she is the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. She is applauding the president on this. Just wished it had happened quicker. That they're shortening Russia's deadline to agree to a ceasefire in Russia, but says the move should have come sooner. This is being reported by The Hill. Quote, too many innocent lives are at stake for President Trump to let Russian President Vladimir Putin continue playing him for time. This shorter deadline is a positive step, but long overdue. Shaheen said in a statement Monday, Trump announced he will have revised the timeline he originally set for Putin to halt the hostilities in Ukraine Trump now expects a ceasefire agreement about 10 or 12 days from today. He expects it. Let's see what happens. Advancing the previous 50-day deadline by several weeks. We just don't see any progress being made, Trump said during a joint appearance with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. I'm going to reduce that by 50 days. I've gave him a lesser number because I think I already know the answer of what's going to happen. Shaheen, who has long pressed for a tougher U.S. response, this is, by the way, in Newsmax, to Russia's war in Ukraine, said the White House must not stop at words. The president needs to match his words with real action and not let Putin cross yet another red line. Well, what are you willing to go to, Ms. Shaheen? What are you willing to go to? I mean, are you willing to go to war? I mean, is it just sanctions? I mean, what does that mean? We're not let him. You're talking some big smack there for this Democrat. Okay, I realize y'all hate Russia and y'all wanted them backed out of Ukraine, but what are you willing to go to? You need to be clear on your timelines and what you expect here. The lesser timeline could bring new pressure on Moscow as early as the first week of August. Citing deadly Russian attacks on civilian targets, including Kyiv, Trump expressed frustration with the lack of progress. We thought we had that settled numerous times, and then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kyiv. Oh, by the way, is Lindsey Graham fixing to make another trip to Kyiv? I mean, whenever this has happened, Lindsey Graham has always, been in and around this. He'll be on talk shows after this announcement. You watch and see if he's not on Mark Levine's show. Wait and see. This guy will be out there talking war. Wait and see. He'll probably also make a trip to Ukraine. And kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street, and I say that's not a way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. Shaheen is calling on Congress to do its part by advancing new bipartisan sanctions legislation aimed at pressuring the Kremlin and bolstering Ukraine's defenses. At the same time, we must continue to press forward in Congress on bipartisan legislation to impose punishing, she says, sanctions on the Kremlin and ensure Ukraine has the support it needs, she means weapons and money, to finally bring Putin to the negotiating table, she said. Meanwhile, former Russian President, here he is, Dmitry Medvedev, issued a warning about the potential consequences of Trump's strategy, accusing him of escalating tensions. He called this the new ultimatum. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with Trump's own country. Medvedev wrote on X. He likes to X. He's another one that likes to post a lot on social media. He talks a lot of smack. He does not speak for obviously Putin, but he never checks him down. He never said anything about it. I forget what his title is now. He's the former president, Medvedev. So another thing to consider is the sanctions. You can't just flip a switch. So two things here. One, they've had to have had these to escalated these ahead of time to be ready to do this. You can't just say we're going to start the massive the punishing sanctions, as Ms. Shaheen said, overnight. You had to have already had this in place. It takes a little time to set these up, to put into place, and to alert other countries of what's fixing to happen. Because when you do that, that affects those countries. Obviously, Russia and China have a lot of deals together. And he may be Mr. Brodsky, but he likes to talk smack like Lindsey. Maybe him and Lindsey are friends. Two of a kind. I don't know. I'm just glad. I'm going to come to your chats. Just give me a minute. But you're killing me, man. But I got to quit looking. I got to shield my eyes from Brodsky's comments. They're gold. I just got to look away for a minute. So you put these in place, and what does that mean? If obviously they'll try to hurt the American economy in some way, will China prop him up and, try to go, all max 10 on Trump and tariffs, which he would be ready to do that back. And what would that mean for goods and services in America? Interesting. So this is, some very, there's just some pressure on the president to speed this up. Obviously, and news out of Europe is, Zelensky is on a much better footing now with his European partners. And they said that that they're paying for all of the weapons and stuff that's in Europe. Europe's going to pay for all those weapons. Who pays for most of the NATO and a lot of their front money anyway? Well, we do. Me and you, the taxpayer of America, or and a debt that they're using. I mean, they're backing it up against that. That's being sent to Russia and or not Russia, but to Europe, and those countries buy some of that stuff. I'm not saying they're not spending some money, but they act like it's a zero. It's a zero bill. I don't believe that. We're still sending money. I just don't believe that's been. I don't believe that's been the deal. I'm not saying the president's lying. I'm saying in his way of thinking, and maybe that's what he's being told. But we know where those shysters are over there in Europe. We know what they're doing. They're just taking money that we give them and they're buying with it. I mean, they're not seeking they're not going to seek their economy down, even though they talk a big game over there. They got their own problems in their own nation. Their economies, in some cases, are a wreck, and they've got all kinds of terrorism in their country. They're not going to go too far with this. And so, what's your thoughts? Now, I'm going to go to you. I said let's talk about it. And certainly, there's other news that's going on, and some of you are mentioning some of that. And we'll go back and we'll pick up some of the comments. And sorry, Miss Jen, that your power's out. This is like heat wave city. I mean, I hope that you're got good fans, open the windows or whatever you got to do. Maybe the cool will stay in there a while. At least it's at the time of night where it's kind of cooling down a little bit. And maybe they'll get your power back on soon. Hate that. I heard thunder here earlier, but nothing. So I hate to see that. The EU, Broski says the EU bent the knee and kissed the ring of Trump. Talk about a one-sided deal. Well, and again, and the Japan deal was done. Yes, we talked about that. Cambodia and Thailand resolved. A boy named Lindsay. Yes. Oh, I love you, NC. It makes you wonder if Ukraine could get an Iron Dome. Barry, well, we're supposed to be giving them something like that. Well, they say sell it, but that's obviously in the deal to get them some sort of Iron Dome, Patriot missile batteries, whatever, to help with that, which they will ring, obviously, Kyiv with in the major cities, and there's other sensitive areas, I'm sure. For example. Dems are getting desperate. Their favorability among the Dems is down 30%. Well, yeah, I mean, to me, the Democrats are trying to look relevant in this for diplomacy and try to make the president look bad. They spent 4 years doing nothing with this other than just throwing money and weapons and big talk. So they really got nothing they can say. Lindsay has well, he sure does like to go there a lot. Michael, they're finally admitting that we have all said that Hamas has been taking all the relief supplies and so on. Yeah. But here's the thing. How do you deal with it without just continuing the war? I mean, people are starving. I mean, there are people starving. And the president said the number one goal right now is to get food to these people. If you don't, it's going to be a disaster on a scale that no matter what Hamas is doing, nobody wants to live with that. I get it, they're taking it, but then if you can prove that, then you put it on Hamas and turn the world against Hamas. But right now, the ones that are looking bad is us and Israel. Again, we don't need to be involved. And it's another reason to get out of this mess that we're in over there and quit propping up the deal makers over there, the warmongers, the deal makers, but we know, people are upset about it, and I get it. I don't like it either. I think it's crap that we have this going on. It's taken too long, and I don't see a lot of plans in place. I mean, they're bringing in some trucks, but they're bringing in a few hundred, but they need thousands. And there's food sitting on the other side of the border. And They're going to have to do something. I mean, you just can't keep going like this. And so I don't know where it's going to go, but it's not good. It's a new world order. Yeah, that's the phrase. Remember George Bush, Daddy Bush, talked about a new world order, and it has been talked about a lot. A lot of key words in that, the new world order, and ever since that's been mentioned, we've had hell. It's been nothing but hell. I mean, wars, fights, whatever, dictatorships, diseases. Oh, Michael says they're fixing to have a storm. Would Russia really and truly try to go into Europe at all? With a dictator, you don't know. I mean, my gut tells me no. But when you say Europe, what part of Europe? Remember, his goal has been to reclaim land that he believes goes back centuries and is theirs, and he wants it. So that's what he went on that big history lesson with Tucker Carlson. I wish Tucker Carlson mailed that and said, "Hey, time out. Okay, I get that you know history and everything, but can we just figure out what we're going to do, Ukraine, right here?" This guy went on forever about history. Okay, he likes history, he studies it. Well, we do too, but we got to play ball in the present, and so he just evaded that. He kind of gave an answer, but he don't like that land's gone. Well, he's a dictator. He wants more power and area and everything else. It ain't just about history. It ain't just about getting land. He wants power. He wants energy. He wants all the things that he can get with that. And he does want to expand their reach over there. So would he go into, say, a Poland or a Lithuania, which would invoke, yes, Article 5 of NATO? I got a feeling here, and I could be wrong. Y'all can tell me. Let me finish the chats, and I'm going to come back to that because I've been thinking about this for some time. I really have. I've been thinking about this for some time. Michael says they did them a new video of the Dems. I saw that. Said Israel delivered supplies to a neutral zone. Well, that's fine, but they're going to have to secure it. The neutral zone will have to, it's got to happen quick, or you're going to have massive death. I think there's already been some due to starvation. Most of the starvation hunger photos. Well, they could be, but at the end of the day, you got to make yourself look better than that. They've been doing that for generations. Even the American press doctors up videos and photos. If we get out of there and just leave it totally on them, then they can do that for them. We don't need to be involved. We need to get the heck out. That traffic arena in Bibb County, Alabama. Yes, and I know it was. I saw that article. It was so sick. I didn't read much of it. I covered that the other day, and it was just. But you're right. You're right. Brooksy said, "Let all the evil Zionists and evil Muslims take each other." That's my take. Well, we're not going to stop the wars over there. There was some kind of gang involved in that. Oh, yeah, it was a gang. I read that. Yes, visit our landing page for Patriot Bubble. Absolutely. Tucker made some very good points against Ted Cruz. Cruz should know the basic. I've never thought that Cruz was the brightest. Yes, Jake, and I saw that. Happy birthday. I happy birthday. I cannot say it enough. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. I saw that last night and been meaning to send you a note all day. I thought he'd probably drop in. I was glad you did. And happy birthday to you. So here's my question. Here's my question about NATO and this Article 5. Supposed you hit one, you get us all. I'm not sure that they really mean that. these bozos don't. We're not talking about Estonia. We're we're not talking about some little country that you know goes over the border and challenges in that border of another small country that may that is a NATO member. Oh, they would throw a big old party on that and hit them. We're talking Russia. Jake says he had an ESPN legend on your show today. Well, good for you, man. Good for you. Tell us a name. Don't say a legend. After all, it might be me. I'm not an ESPN legend, though. But if Russia hit like a Lithuania or somebody, one of those countries, I don't remember all the NATO countries, but I'm pretty sure that I know Poland is. I think they are. Or, those that border, are right there with Russia, really close. Either on the other side of Ukraine or they actually border Russia. If they hit one of those countries, maybe not total, like annihilation hit, but they started advancing on their border, would NATO really go in to line of battle against Russia? I think he's testing the waters to see what they will do. He just pushes a little bit here and a little bit there. And we've all said in here, Russia could annihilate Ukraine overnight. They have the power. They're doing it a very slow, methodical, just continued bombardment and just keep advancing. They have destroyed some cities, but of late they've just been pushing the Ukrainians back slowly but surely and throwing a heck of a lot of people in it. Would they do that? Would they go to defense of a Poland or somebody if Russian tanks crossed over the border? That's my question. Do we really think all of NATO would send their troops and they would go to war against those frontline troops, joining with Poland as Russia crossed over the border? I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure that they actually would do that. Michael says they said Ukraine has so many deserters that the military is, well, their numbers are bad. Russians are losing as many or more than Ukraine, but they can afford to. The Russians, they have a number. They have a number they're losing every day. They're putting more into the line of battle than that, and they have enough cannon fodder more than Ukraine. NC Native says Russia's having too hard a time against Ukraine to think about taking on any of Europe. Well, that may be, but are they, devious enough to just do like a small border excursion? I mean, what point does Article 5 go into, if they take a village on, the very western part or whatever you want to call it of Poland? Do those nations say, okay, we're starting to fly the planes and the troops in and we're going at it? I don't know that he would do it, and he may not. But that's the fear that they're throwing out there to stoke more support for Ukraine. That's absolutely what they're doing. They do have more people. I mean, they've already thrown all the prisoners they could at it, all militiamen, all the hired help. They're still doing that. But they're drafting people too and putting them in there. I agree with you, NC. That's exactly what I mean. And I think he knows that. He's not stupid that way. He knows that. Well, yeah, they would. They're already almost taking over anyway from the inside. You know that. I mean, their country's in trouble. There's areas of France that the authorities don't even go into. They're so been invaded because they've willingly allowed these people to come into their country that they've got strongholds set up, and there's absolutely no way that their police forces want to go in those areas. They basically got areas that run themselves. The police won't even go in there. If they did, they'd be dead. And that's the problem. And that's what they want to do here. mark our word. That's what they want to do here. They want to set up those zones here and say this is our area. There was a African American militant group in Mississippi talked about this a few years ago. Um, they they said we have a zone here and we're going to set up our country, and you owe us this land, and we're going to set up our own country within it. Of course, that goes against the Constitution, and it's not happened. But there were already people talking about that and trying to do that, trying to set up their own government in an area and say this place is off limits to anybody but us, the people that we let in. I forget their name, but there was actually a senator way back when. He may not even be alive now, but there was a senator who actually was a proponent of it. He was one in one of those areas where you get voted in, he can't be voted out. He wanted to do that. Almost blew off their junk. Okay. But so the president is making the deals. It's looking good. He's but here's a whole other thing to consider. Let me throw a little curveball in here. Now they came out today, or somebody came out to said the president is not connected to the Epstein thing, but there are people out there that believe that he is hurt by that. There are people using that against him, or the threat of. He's been throwing the press to Clinton and saying you need to go look at Bill Clinton 28 times. He was there. Is there nothing there? Is there a little bit there? Is there something that could make him look bad? That we get thrown into something that we don't want because of this. And are there people out there that would stoke the flames of war or continued war to keep that story pressed down some? I wonder. Sometimes I do wonder. Negligent discharge. So I don't know. They say he's not involved, but we're still needing more and more information. Now, I also want to go now. Danny Bonbons, Broski, you saw his statement, I'm sure, where he come out and he said, "Hey, listen, things are slow, but it's working. It's coming along. But the things he has saw are so bad, he will never be the same." Basically, I'm paraphrasing a little bit of what he said. But since he's been in that position, he has seen some things that are so bad that he'll never be able to unsee it, and he'll never be exactly the same. It'll be a part of him the rest of his life. Now, once again, is that just theater and talk to push back those people that have been pressing for action? Or are they buying time? Or is it really there? I mean, is it really, really there? Are they really got these major cases they're working on, assembling evidence, and we're going to see the perp walks soon? And who are they? What do you think about that? I mean, that was, again, another odd statement that he comes out to smoke the press of the people off of him a little bit, because he's been getting hammered. Even the president had to come out and defend him and say he's a good guy, he's doing a good job. What do you think about that? Broski Bear says on this previous talk, the only countries willing to fight Russia are the Baltic countries like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and also Poland. The rest of the 60-year-olds talking game, they would get smoked in a battle. I believe that. And Lithuania and Poland has been talking a little smack. But that's all part of former Soviet control, or at least most of it. I'm sure on Poland, right? Maybe Poland was. I don't remember. Maybe it was split. But I know Lithuania was. And that's a good question. What has Danny Bonbons accomplished so far. We don't see no evidence. He keeps saying that we're working out, there's cases working, it takes time, and da. Be patient. And here we are. It's almost August. And could we just get one case? I know they got the human trafficker deal and all that. Could we get one major person that is connected to the government that we all know, name basis, all Americans will know? Could we not just get that one person, perp walk? You can always finish up your investigation. If you've got enough, you can go ahead and arrest. The Dems never had a problem with doing that, right? They just battle rattle stormed in the house in the middle of the night, took the guy and the wife out in their underwear, nightgown, and had the CNN camera crew in tow, and they never had a problem with going in and just using whatever they evidence they made up. Why can't we, if we've got data, why can't we do that? Broski says, people forget Lithuania once occupied Moscow in the 17th century. Lists are tough. I knew a guy from Lithuania, one of my best friends. He was born here, but he had that Lithuanian. I don't know how to describe it. Lithuanians have you could just tell it's a little different. Even the skin. As I would look at it, his dad was Lithuanian. His mom was American. His dad moved here from Lithuania, and was very involved here in road construction, and maybe even Ukrainian. I don't know that whole area. But man, he was. Before he died, I went over and met him a few times and talked to him. Well, you don't talk about a guy talking straight, tough talk. He didn't mince words. Absolutely a tough guy. Tough guy. Loved boxing. I remember he loved to bet on boxing. NC Native, the only thing I think of is this. If Cash and Dan are going after the big dogs, they can start one easy case to courts with all their evidence goes, because the rest will be there coming for them to start to make moves. Well, truth, I get that. If they're going to drop a bomb, we'll have to take them all at once. In those cases, might take a couple of years even. Broski says, I'm Lithuanian and Irish. I'm a good fighter and a good drinker. But I don't know if I believe that at this point. So, are you doubting that there's any kind of real big case from the upper crusters working? That's what I'm doubting. I think most MAGA and anybody that voted for Trump, because there's a lot of people that's not MAGA that supported Trump. I believe they thought by this point, several things he's done, but I believe they thought there would be some arrest by now. I do understand what you're saying. I get that because I do study, cases and law, and I'm kind of that's, I don't know why, I'm just love that kind of stuff, and so I do get that, but it just seems. You could always drag this thing out. I get it. How much? They've got all the power to go get all the evidence they need right now. Who's going to stop them? Right? Unless it's interviews, whatever. I'm just beginning to doubt it. I've been doubting it already, but I'm doubting it even more. And it's like they keep coming out and saying, hey, hang on, folks. Hang on. I know we promised you a show. The show is on the way. We've had some technical difficulties, but I promise you, this 3-ring circus, it's going to happen. I could just see Danny Bonbons out in the middle of the circus ring, announcing to the crowd, hang on, get you some more popcorn, folks. We got a show for you. You're going to love this. It's going to take some time, but just hang on. I'm just not buying it anymore. And the reason I don't buy it is this. The president hasn't backed that up. He just said he's doing a good job. He hasn't come out and said anything remotely that I know of in this area. He continues to say they broke the law, and he names names. But where's the evidence? Things that we can see that we already know. But I don't know. I'm just beginning to really wonder that. It takes time to build a case. This situation cases, but Danny Bonbons hasn't done anything. At least Bondi and Tulsi have shown some heart. I don't have much faith in Cash the Rash either. I'll throw that in there. Uh, I agree, and he's almost disappeared. Do we have a Cash Patel sighting? I've been hearing from Dan, Big Dan, you know. And by the way, there was a lot of talk about him, taking the weekend to decide whether he was going to stay. I guess he decided to stay. Some were saying that was bogus. That wasn't really true, da. But he don't look like the same guy. Does he look like the same guy to y'all? I'm not saying body snatcher. I'm saying his whole attitude, his whole demeanor. Does he look like the guy that was on his podcast all wrapped up over that mic, flexing his muscle, talking tough? Does he look even remotely like that guy anymore? I mean, I was all in. I thought he was very measured on some things, and some people, bashed him on that. Maybe that was a sign. But he talked a lot of smack. He talked, hey, folks, I was in the Secret Service. I know how this works, folks. Maybe you didn't know as much as you thought. I don't know. It's just it's a stain that won't come out, and it just keeps getting bigger. The more you go, the more the stain on the do nothing, it gets stinkier. And I think we're all intelligent here. We all understand it takes time. We all understand, there could be thousands of files to go through and data this, data that. We could come up with all kinds of scenarios. But once again, it didn't take the Democrats long at all to roll the caravan of cars and camera crews and everything else and start pulling people out of their homes. It didn't take long at all. I'm not saying we should do like them. What I'm saying is, if they didn't have what they said they had, in many cases, they just, try to get them on some crazy charges anyway. In most cases, it didn't work. They just threatened them with a long time in jail and got some of them to plead guilty. And some committed suicide. But, I just, because here's my thing. If you have people that are this guilty and they're still in a position of authority, is it not feasible to believe that they're still doing damage or capable of doing damage? Capable of, if they have access to files that, as you said, to get rid of stuff. They're circling the wagons now. They're trying to come up with, until they come up with a case against them, they could be working on all this. If they still have clearances, security clearances, whatever. Of course, they could get in trouble for that if it was known. Until you have to roll your sleeves up, you can say whatever you want. Actions speak louder than words. Very true. I agree with you 100%. And I will not run a defense for them because I just don't see nothing. Now, the president has been out there and he's taken some very decisive action in a lot of areas. He has been laying it down. He's been getting, but these folks, what have they accomplished? It's really sad. I think it's really sad. I heard a report today that Trump was the one who dimed out Epstein back in 2000. He also banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago in 20. Yes, and we do remember that. I don't think there's anything on him. He has never seemed to be too concerned about any of that. Others have been very quiet about it. Now, there are people talking all kinds of crap out there that they're going to get her before Giselle, before the, before the investigators and everything, or the judges or whoever. She'll clear Trump and then burn somebody else down for freedom. And you hear all this stuff that's going on. But I will say this: I would would love for her to lay it on the line. And that's another question. Would you be willing for her sentence to be reduced for solid information about who was involved from on the inside and from the outside of that organization? Do you know Epstein? Yes. Was it on a pervy level? I don't think so. True. By the way, I saw some people asking, and they believe it was because of the Epstein thing. And I must say this disclaimer, because I'm not saying it. I read it online. People that like this artist were saying it. Dave is not saying it. I know lawyers are waiting always. But someone was saying, and listen, I've already heard all the stories about his throat, his surgery, and, could he sing? He showed that he can sing. Can he go on tour again? But we're talking about Aerosmith, Steven Tyler. And there were people out there surmising, they said they had just found out that he might have been implicated in this. And that's why he came off tour, that they shut everything down with Aerosmith is because Steven Tyler might be actually perverted that way. Well, I don't know what they've been reading or not paying attention, but if you go all the way back to the early days of Aerosmith, there's some information there that's kind of, it's cringy. Just go look at the deal he pulled with the parents of the young lady. Just go read that story, and we'll let you make up your own opinion. But I thought, what an odd thing to be popping out that just, they can't go on tour? They must have been involved. I didn't know he was pervy like that. That's what people were saying. Well, Jake, if you're going to tell me, you got to tell me who it is. Tell me who it is. Give me a name, Jake. I got to call you out. I'll put it on the screen, but I'm not going to put, you're acting like Danny Bonbons. I've got this big name. I want to hear. Is it like secrecy? Was he behind the shadowed wall, and he had a disguised voice? I'm just being funny. I love you, man. But you've already told me that. Who is the big celebrity you had from ESPN? That's all I want to know. I mean, I can go look at the show, right? Just say it. Throw it out there. The drums have been rolling, dude. The drums have been rolling. We've been waiting on the name. Come on. If she gave enough solid information, I'd give her immunity and put her in witness protection. It would have to be some real stuff on a lot of important people, though. Fair enough. I just wondered if because she would probably want to have time served and then some protection, yes. People have always said she has to know. I mean, she set the deals up. And they can get at her in there just as well as they could outside. So it seems to me, if you got it, you go ahead and go state's witness and then, try to, live your life out without, them finding you. Because they can get to you on the inside just as well. And I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that it hasn't happened. That makes me wonder about what she can say or cannot. Because I would think, if we're going to think that he was taken out, then why wasn't she? There's something weird about that. Explain that to me. Right? These are questions I have in my mind. Why did they just take him out? Why wouldn't it be her? She would have probably been more dirty in a lot of ways. I'm not talking about the deeds. I'm talking about the arrangements, because she went out and arranged for payments and, set the deal up and reached out to people through other people. I mean, she was very involved in that. She was on the inside all the way. I would love to hear her testify, though. Would that not be, you talking about a ratings bonanza? If they put her on open video in front of a mic, in front of, some investigative committee, and she had beside her a lawyer, and they said she is now under immunity of protection, from further prosecution, and she's going to tell everything she knows. They'd be watching from around the world, man. This would break. This might break the all-time viewing records for anything, any event of all time. This would be watched by so many people. They'd have trouble keeping the feed up because there would be so many people connected to that feed watching that if it was live. Wow, that would be amazing. Well, I was thinking that as I was saying it. Anything's possible, right? I don't know, but it is a mystery. It's a mystery I would like to know more about. What does she know, and why has it? Why didn't she use it in some way to reduce? Because she got what 20 years. I mean, she could still come out alive, but time does things to you. Even she's not at a maximum security prison, but she's aging, and you do age. And would she sacrifice 20 years of her life if she had some stuff to share? I mean, she's been quiet so far. It's a mystery to me. It's an absolute mystery. Was she promised some things? If she could make it through, does she have a stash of cash somewhere? Nobody knows where it's at. She's thinking, I ain't saying nothing. I'm going to do my time. I'm going to get out. I'm going to go somewhere, and I'll be fine. I'll hire my own security. I don't know. It's a very weird thing, and where's all the records? Where's all the stuff out? I mean, they say they've got records. It's supposed to be on Pam's desk. Where's it at? I don't want some shady flight logs that's been redacted so heavily. I want to see the whole thing. Where is it at? Isn't it strange too that the 240,000 pages were released for the MLK files and nothing much has been said about any of that? Are they that bad? I didn't take the time to go look. Obviously, you could use AI, I guess, to screen out and get some stuff. I haven't really seen much on that. Have y'all? Where's the reporting on that? The 240,000 plus pages from MLK's file. That's supposed to be it. I don't know if I buy that, but it's supposed to be it. Was it just paperwork that showed the FBI going and getting lunch, riding around, filling their gas tank up? And I don't know. I hadn't heard much on that. I was shocked. I thought we might hear some things about that. Yeah, I will say this. I don't want to say it and sound condescending. I want to make Rob mad. He may know a lot of that. He may not know a lot. And that's, when you're talking about that, I don't know how much he's really dug into that. I have quite a bit. I'm not saying there ain't things that you can share with me that I don't know, but I'd say I know most of it. I don't know that he may, but I don't know that he does. I distinctly think that he probably, or some of it he may not have heard because he never really studied that. But when you get into what was going on behind closed doors, it's pretty ugly. But it is out there, and one of his own soldiers has pretty much ratted on him about everything. I mean, I can't think of the gentleman's name. One of the guys that was with him has pretty much told it all, and it was not that secret of a deal. Although there's probably a lot of people that don't take. I mean, we know how people are. They don't take the time to study things, and they don't know just how bad some of this material is. It is bad. And yes, the connections and all that. But I will say, along with Rob, the things that he accomplished, even with all of that, are pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So I don't want to bash the end result of, and we're still fighting for, in some cases in our country, to get past some things. But those things did have an effect in a positive way for a lot of people, and our country moved forward. So I get that, I do, but we also have to say that even in, a lot of people have dirty laundry, especially powerful people, and it's just like the Obama story. You know, nobody wants to hear that story either. It's dirty. It's got ugly parts, and a lot of it was reported on. I mean, they about destroyed Glenn Beck because of that. I mean, they drove him off the major cable, and he's got his own deal. But Glenn Beck, whether you like him or not, I like somebody does. There's some things I don't. But he was naming names. I mean, he called it out. He put stuff out there that nobody else was reporting on, and they came after him with everything. Sure, I agree with that. In some ways, it was bad because of the still division. But I'm not just talking about the overall movement. But what I can tell you is, in their heart, they moved past times that was previous to where they weren't living like that anymore, and for that, they are always going to be thankful, and should be. And I just volunteered, and I studied all sides. I knew a lot of it. I don't say most. I knew a lot of it, but I just spent some time with some dear, precious people. They shared their story, and their story changed. And they're not bitter people. They love this country. They love everybody, and they will tell you what it meant for them and how things were. And so again, for all that bad, and yeah, I know what Lyndon B. Johnson said. It's horrible. It's an ugly thing. And to a large degree, that has worked. I understand all that. But on the street level, we'll say on the street level, there's a lot of things that disappeared. And for that, I should always give credit, whether it's you like that, what that person was about, what they were doing, or anything else. You could call it a byproduct to appease or whatever you want to say. You're free to say it. I just say that it did advance race relations, and we're still working on it. But we don't have 2 bathrooms, 2 water fountains, 2 entrances, or not even an entrance to bus stations, stand outside, enter from a different area. Those things are gone, and thank God for it. It's horrible. So I'll stand on that. It's like when you look at most. I mean, were there things that FDR did that were good? Was there things he did that were terrible? Sure. I mean, there were things that hurt us in a lot of ways, but there are also things that help. So it's all in context, man. It's all in context. And I just, we have to take, as I was talking to a gentleman, and we agreed as we talked, the past is the past. It's history. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's all there. We got to recognize it. We don't need to live in the past. We need to see it. We don't need to make the mistakes again. All we can do is live for today and try to make tomorrow a better day. This was an African-American gentleman, and we completely aligned up in our thinking. 100%. People say 110. You can't do 110, but 100%. We agreed. The past has its ugly part. I mean, it's horrible. But we can't, we just got to see it. We don't want to repeat the same things again. We've come a long way. There's still some things out there that need to get better. And I think anybody could agree with that. But move forward in a unified way. And for that, I absolutely support that. So I get that. But it's kind of like, let me give you another example. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is quoted, is thought of, is revered. He's considered one of the top 3 presidents of this nation. But there's also a lot of ugly there. Some people can't stand the memory of Abraham Lincoln. Others revere him. Did the things that he did, were they right to invade the South? We could get into this whole discussion. Did some byproducts of that, do people revere him because they felt like things got better for them? In some degrees, yes. In some degrees, no. But they appreciate, they will look back for that. Were some Union generals guilty of war crimes against African Americans in the South. I think so, from what we read, from what we know. But what they're going to be remembered as the winners, the heroes, they freed those slaves from the South. But on the flip side of that, we look at Southern generals and we say, listen, my family didn't have slaves, and heritage, not hate, and all that. But there's some ugly parts in the South, some ugly parts, and we have to recognize that too. So I'm a person that tries to really study that from all angles. And sometimes people don't like me for it. Sometimes it's caused me problems on the podcast. It absolutely has. There's people got very mad at me. And I think they think that I'm disagreeing with them. All I'm trying to do is take a measured approach to complicated issues and trying to learn. And I think that's the key. I don't have all the answers. I've never said I did. This is a podcast where I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm saying let's talk about it. That's why we want your comments. We're trying to navigate. We're trying to look at some things. We're learning as we go. That's what I said about my volunteer. I was working and learning. And I learned some things there that day that I didn't even know. And I held those things in my hand, or I viewed those things. And so that's the thing is we could say JFK, the JFK assassination. There are things that we're going to agree on. There's things we don't agree on. It's got parts that we think we got it understand. There's parts that we don't agree with. Some people think they got it all figured out, but nobody agrees on everything about that. And I think that's important to remember, is that as time goes on, we're going to look back and we're going to, what did we learn about it? What do we view it as years later? And think about it. We're still not clear on everything about JFK or Abraham Lincoln or even MLK. Maybe another 100 years. Are we going to be even more clear, or is it going to be muddied? Or is it, I don't know. What is going to be considered, what are they going to think about 100 years from now in President Trump's presidency? What are they going to look back? I mean, what's going to be remembered? What's going to be forgotten? What's going to be challenged? What's going to be a mystery? What are we going to say? We didn't get the whole story, the J6ers, the whole deal. We continue to try to gather information, and there are people on all sides that agree about some and disagree about others. There's J6ers that don't agree about everything with themselves. It's really complicated in some ways. It's a complicated world. There's a lot of things we don't know. There's a lot of things that we know, and what we know and what we've experienced or seen or whatever, it definitely gives us biases towards other things. For instance, I'll give you an example. I don't have to get off here. We got our 8 o'clock show coming up, and then get ready for it. Let me give you an example. President Lincoln gives the speech, the Gettysburg Address, in 1863. Now, to a lot of people, that's a monumental moment. Free the slaves. Other people will say, I didn't free nobody, because he didn't have any authority over the southern states. So, as he spoke that, it was worthless because it didn't free those slaves. He didn't have any power over them because they were still at war. They were still at odds. It was two nations. It was a Confederate nation. And that's just, I don't want to get into all parts of that. I'm just saying, see what I mean? It absolutely, people come at this from different angles. MLK is one of them. And some are going to say, this is the greatest thing ever. Others are going to say, this didn't do jack. This was wrong. We look at that, and the byproduct is, I think there's some things where it has kept that community down and not allowed them to advance the way they should have been. But in another way, we got to admit that things did get better in many, 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 many ways. And so it goes back to, does our government always have our best interests at heart? No. Follow the money, follow the power. There are some great people that stood up and did great things, but they got ugly parts to them. They got ugly parts. So I appreciate the comments. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, if you talk to certain people, they're going to tell you, absolutely, this was a big deal. And even though they may even know about some of that, what they're going to say is, I don't care. It's history. It's gone. What I know is what it meant for me. And everybody's got a story. And I think with the podcast here, we've always tried to share that story. By the way, we're going to have some folks on, and we're going to let them share different parts. I've asked a group to come on and talk about a very interesting story, which I've read a book about. It happened. Most of the story happened within minutes of where I live, and this is a story of Mark Thrash. And we got to arrange the date for them to come on. They were very busy with an event, and Mark Thrash is buried near here. And it's a fantastic story. It has a national connections as well as local, and it touches all the way back to pre-war between the states or Civil War, whichever you prefer to say, and the decades after. We lived to be 120 something years old, I think. And we're going to have a show. It's going to be the first or second of our new history show. I'm working on it. I'll probably have one show before that, actually, that will deal with another aspect of a local area, a local thing. And we're gonna talk about that. But I'm excited about it. It's a fantastic story, and I want to go get some pictures and video from the gravesite before we have it. So I'm going to try to do that this week. It's not far from where I live, and it's a fantastic story. Hey, thanks for your support of the Southern Fried. Don't forget, folks, you can support us by watching us. That's big. You go in our merch store. I've got to load some new pictures and sayings and stuff up. We thank you of those who have bought from the merch store at Threadless. We're going to have a new one at Printful with Shopify because it's just easier to use them within the Shopify. We'll always have the Threadless. They do great deals. And they offer different stuff at Printful that they don't offer at Shopify. So we're going to have actually a 2-tiered store. You just go to the same place, and basically you can get the links. Patriot Mobile, I'm switching over a couple phones this week. Additionally, as I'm making changes to them, it'll be by Thursday. It'll all be done. And so Cornbread, use that promo code Cornbread. Love Mammoth Nation. The clicks have been going up online. Haven't seen any resulting support yet from that, but it'll happen. Payworld, what you saw, that's a new one. If you own a business, consider Payworld. They offer some really competitive pricing, and they'll do you a great job. And then Dubby, I've got to order me some new Dubby. I think I've got just a little bit left of my Dubby here. So I'm a user of all this stuff. And I had a little bit left, so I tried to preserve it. And, of course, our coffees. We love our coffees, man. I've been drinking it. In fact, I've got a pot of coffee over here ready to go. I just got busy with this. We'll drink some in between and get ready for the next show. And there's other ways to give Bobby a coffee, which you see on there. PayPal, Venmo. But we thank you for, if you never give or buy anything, give anything, we thank you. You're supporting the show. We thank that. Tremendous growth over now we're on the verge. It may be tonight. I'm trying to get ready for it. The launch of our internet radio station, Cornbread Nation Radio. Cornbread Nation Radio. I've been sending out the page to people today, letting them see what it looks like. I've been loading up material, songs and stuff, and that's going to be a go live, and we're going to be working on that, getting the schedule set up in there. And you got 168 hours. So I've got like 7.5 loaded up so far, or 7, something like that. So some of those will repeat. It won't be like that many individual shows, but we'll run some repeats in the middle of the night and stuff like that. But we'll be going live there too soon. But right now we're going to load up material and let it just run, and we'll load stuff in as we have shows like this one. And then we will have times we go live. Rob will be set up as a DJ in there. He can go live when he wants to, and just break in and go live. And then when he goes out, it'll go back to normal programming. I'll be doing the same thing. We may do that together. We'll have to test how that works with 2 of us in there at the same time. All these things we got to work on, but it's up, and it's not running yet because I haven't clicked the button because I wanted enough material in there. We got a lot of songs you've never heard that are loaded in the radio station. I've saved them on purpose for that. There's all kinds of songs, and some of them I've made are for different shows that's coming. Some of them are just songs that mean a lot to me, and we're going to load a couple Rob's put up that you've been hearing on the shows. They'll all be in there. Cornbread Nation Radio, baby. We're excited about it. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are awesome. Bring it, challenge us. Again, anything I say, it's not to disagree. It's a healthy debate, and I could be wrong about a lot of things. I'm just saying where I'm at, and I did learn a few things over 60 years, and I have studied. I've always wanted to see, and I've always followed news that nobody else will follow. I'm that rebel. I am that guy, and I've always tried to look for, uh, you know, things that are right in front of people that they won't even look at and really study it. So I think that you guys and gals are the same way. And so that's why I love you having you on here. You have great opinions, and you don't just throw ideas up, that you actually have invested your time into studying it, measuring it out logically. What makes sense? What doesn't? Is this true? Can we trust it? All those things that we challenge ourselves like an investigative reporter would. And sometimes it's not easy because we wonder when we're being lied to. Is what someone said. And is that now with AI and everything else, is that document real? We've wondered that all the way back since the birth certificate, right? The birth certificate changed the world. We have stopped trusting a lot of those things. That's a concern. That's an absolute concern. And as more as AI is used, man, it makes you wonder what you can believe. Here, we're talking, it's not AI. We only use AI for some backgrounds and stuff. We don't put it out there and making it make the programming and all that to speak for us. We speak with our own brain for the better, the bitter, the worse. But have a great day. Look for us again tomorrow night at the same time. The MAGA Report. Let's continue to dive into the news of the day, and love the conversation. You guys are awesome, and gals. Thank you so very much. And I'm out. We'll see you if you can join us 8 p.m. Robert Dogtag is Diamond. Robert Diamond Dogtag is going. He's going to try to check in if he can and gets enough signal. He's already contacted me. He's going to update us from 1,600 miles into a 2,200 mile journey. Be tuned in for that. Mama said 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just around the corner. We'll see you soon.